Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday for our newest webinar from the Membership Committee at Young Leadership Council. And that's going to be Listen to Our Community with Derrick Tabb from the Roots of Music and Rebirth Brass Band, and to introduce the project leader and YLC member who helped us really coordinate this great webinar is going to be Christian Vardaman, who I'm going to hand it over to.
Great, thank you so much. And you can hear me just fine, Ashley?
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, yeah, I really appreciate, the great turnout, and do note that this call will be recorded by YLC, uploaded to YLC's YouTube channel, where you can find other prior webinars, probably in a few weeks from today's call. So if anything stands out, or if you'd like to share this to other friends, colleagues, you will have the opportunity to do so. Today, we're really excited to have Derrick Tabb. Has quite the resume, notably of Rebirth Brass Band, and has an award called a Grammy that corresponds with his work there. And then, as if that were not already enough, he started, a nationally acclaimed nonprofit, the Roots of Music, in 2007, shortly after Hurricane Katrina. And really, Roots has absolutely taken off. So, we had wanted Derrick to share his story really since the turn of the year, when we got wind of Derrick's story and the work that Roots of Music does in our community. And of course, everyone had to kind of pull an audible with everything going on with coronavirus pandemic. So this at inception for months now has been Listen to Our City. It was kind of our call to action, trying to hear Derrick's story and glean off of his experiences to have that same call to action wherever that need may be in the community, whatever our personal skill sets may lie. So this has been in the works for a while, but I think it's even more pertinent amidst coronavirus and just everything that's going on in the world. So Derrick, I really appreciate you joining us here today.
I really appreciate y'all having me on here. I'm really honored, and I'm truly honored to be a part of anything that y'all are doing, because y'all have supported Roots to the fullest, and I appreciate it to the highest, man. I can't even express how much I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, we gave a quick overview of Roots of Music, but from the creator, from yourself, what is Roots of Music to you?
To me, it's my baby, to say the least. Roots started out just a thought in my head, and it really went from just a thought to being born, to crawling and having feet and walking, all within maybe a year. It was a very rapid process that went through for Roots to get to where it was at. And it was very surprising that it moved that fast. I always knew that Roots was a good idea, because my junior high band director is credited with saving my life. Roots is basically a carbon copy of his program. When I was in junior high, Mr. Donald Richardson with Andrew J. Bell Junior High School showed a special interest in me. I had just recently lost my grandmother, and I started getting very rebellious in school and around the way. And but I really wanted to be a part of this band, and he became more of my disciplinarian. So when I got in this band, I've seen a guy who had control and had discipline over a lot of kids, but was only one person. And I used to think, if he was 5 people, how many more kids could he save? And I thought of him as being an upper brass, a lower brass, a drum instructor, a woodwind instructor, but also a disciplinarian. And from there, I just went to thinking how I can make his program better, because it was already a phenomenal program. But there were 3 things that was needed from a child's perspective. And I felt like transportation, because I walked through some of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the city of New Orleans to get to and from school. But band practice ended at 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, and it was late at night for a child to be walking through some of the most dangerous neighborhoods in New Orleans. I felt like transportation was needed. Food, because I was a greedy kid. I used to love to eat, still do. Food is one of my favorite things. I'm glad I stay in New Orleans. And I felt like kids ate at 12 o'clock, got out of school at 3 o'clock, you went to band practice at 3:30. You didn't get home till 7 o'clock, you didn't eat till 7 o'clock. So I felt like food was a necessity to this program, to having a well-disciplined and kid that's gonna wanna be there on a regular basis. But last but not least was tutoring. I felt like after school, you didn't want to do your homework as it was. But after band practice, you're really not going to do your homework because you're too tired, you're hungry, you have too much on your plate. You're going to start lacking in academically. So I felt like tutoring was a main part of having Roots being a part of Roots. And my mom instilled that in me, and she was one of my first, if not my first tutor. And she was like the person that I needed her to be, that tutor. But I wanted more kids or young people from college to come in and teach our kids and have them wanting to go to college, because you see the paraphernalia, you see them talking about college, how much fun they're having and everything. And I wanted them to really be inspired to go to college. So the three things were having tutors there, buses, and the food. And I felt that would make kids want to be at this program. And I used to tell everybody about this program for 10 years. I used to get on people's nerves telling them about this program, because I never wanted to be the front man for the program. Those that know me know I like to be behind the scene. I'm 6'5" tall, so I'm always seen. So I'm not shy. I'm very reserved, I guess you would say. So I knew that this program would get whoever's the front person a lot of recognition and exposure. So I didn't want to be that person. So I used to tell everybody about a program that I can help them start. And everybody used to be like, "That's a great idea. Why don't you start it?" So that went on for about 10 years. And finally I ran into my co-founder, Allison Reinhardt, and her and I sat down and had an argument first, and then a talk about this great program. And she did something that nobody else did in 10 years. And I was wrote down everything I said for about 5 hours, between four and a half, 5 hours. And from there, we said that it looks good on paper. So let's try to start this program. And we went to finding out different ways to start up the program, getting a space and everything. And the first, we worked out a deal with Tipitina's Uptown to have 6 week classes for 19 kids. I had $20,000 to invest into 20 kids. One kid had to go to a retreat. So I knew 19 kids from around our house and around the way that could really use some kind of service like this in their life for a summer to keep them out of trouble. And we sent out a bus because one kid couldn't make it. We had $1,000. We want to pay a bus to go pick up kids. And we sent out a bus to pick up 19 kids, and we were standing at Tipitina's, and I was looking across the street saying, that looked like a lot more than 19 kids on the bus. And the bus pulled up, and it was 42 kids showed up. And it was just a word of mouth amongst kids that they had a program that wanted kids in it, and they didn't care what it was. They knew it was music. They just wanted to be a part of it. So they got on the bus. What was very exciting for everybody else was very scary for me, because all I had was $20,000. And this was only supposed to be 19 kids at a barroom, because Tipitina's is a barroom. It's a very famous barroom. And they would only let me use a small space. And I have the entire ballroom filled up with kids on the first day. So it was very scary at first. Then it got even scarier, because the next week we were at 65 kids. And the following week we were over 100. So the program pretty much took feet and walk on its own. We couldn't stop kids from wanting to be a part of the program. It was after Katrina, and they didn't really have anything for kids to do. And that was one of the main purposes of starting the program at that time. There was nothing for kids to do. I felt like the City of New Orleans was building the structures. We were thinking about the economy, but we wasn't thinking about the kids. I seen so much death and killing and violence, and kids were showing they was expressing themselves differently. So I wanted to give them something that was an option. Rather than doing the worst things, you can have something that's good over here if you do. And it worked a lot better than what I ever expected it to work that soon. We went to get nationally recognized very fast. Started off with Sally Ann Roberts with an interview and local news, and then to MSNBC probably the next week, and then on to CNN, where I was nominated for CNN Heroes and became one of the top 10 finalists. That was a huge honor in itself, to be honored amongst over 7,000 and 10,000 different organizations that CNN look into, and to be recognized for something that was just a thought in my head and turned out to be a really big project, a really big program. I can go on and on. I'd rather you ask me some stuff though, Chris.
Yeah, no, that was great. I really hit on, kind of what you saw as a need, kind of, like you said, a carbon copy of something that you could replicate, but really more refined and fine-tuned to, like you said, prevent those common barrier to entries, providing the transportation, the meals, and then the academic tutoring for your kids. Take me, kind of to juxtapose. So we kind of went through Roots very, very early on as almost intended as like a summer program that has been going on for 13 plus years now.
Yes.
Take me to, okay, well, this is how Roots was in year one, and then maybe tell the audience this is how Roots was at the beginning of this year, 2020.
2020, Roots was probably one of the top 10 bands, top 5 bands in the city. And that's amazing, knowing how many bands we have in the city, for how many different high school bands we have, that Roots is even, considered one of the best bands, knowing that they're 9 to 14-year-olds. We currently have 173 kids in the program. We aim to have 200 this year, according to how our new normal is. We don't know how that's going to be. For the most part, kids love coming to our program. They love being a part of our program. And not just being a part, but staying a part. We have so many kids that graduate from our program that come back on a daily basis, and just to be there, not even to do anything, just to be there. They know they're loved, they know they're cared for, everybody, they know the rules and regulations, so they know how to guide other kids and be a mentor to the younger kids. It's more family-oriented place to be at. It's not your regular music program. It's not your regular school. We're more like a family, and we invite more people to be a part of our family. Roots marched in 5 parades this year, and it was nothing less than extraordinary. I tell you, it was a great feeling to see kids that overcome so much. This was the first year that we had to suspend programming for 2 months due to financing. And I'm sure everybody know how hard it is to fundraise, but if you don't, it's one of the hardest things to do in nonprofit. Is you might raise a little money and then next month not raise any money, because it's just the way things is, and you have to have somebody that just focus on that. And we kind of lacked in our fundraising due to it was a slow year. 2019 was just a slow year for everybody across the board, nonprofits, and it showed with us financially. So we suspended programming for 2 months, and really it hurt me to the fullest, but it helped me. Also, it helped me understand what we needed, how we need to go about not falling into these same situations that we fell into this next time. But it also showed me the resilience of our kids. Like when they came back, first of all, they kept calling. We didn't have to reach out to them. They kept calling. They were like, when we coming back? What do we need to do anything? And it was just like so phenomenal to hear kids want to help and not just be like, that's a part of that's something that I do. But that's somewhere I go. They wanted to really see it succeed. I had alumni calling me worried that Roots wasn't gonna open back up. And they were like, when they get rich, when they become famous, they're gonna give back to the program. And it really is what the program is about. And what it started out to be. And it was great to see kids just love this program. The kids that was a part of this program and was a part of this program. It's just great to see that. So when COVID and everything happened, it was kind of like, I'm gonna rewind that before I say that. I'm gonna go back to Mardi Gras. So when kids came back after we went on a short suspension, we came back in January, I was very, very, very surprised, honored, and just, I don't know, I was all over the place because kids had really practiced and really wanted to be back there. So they were prepared. And those 2 months didn't seem like we were off for 2 months the way they sound and the way they act. It was like they had been at practice every day. So things really went back to rolling just like we had left off. And I was very scared that Mardi Gras was right there. I didn't think we were going to be prepared. And we became one of, like, if not the top band in the city, at least the top 3 this year.
Right.
And it almost brought tears to my eyes to see these kids work that hard with all the obstacles that they were facing. They only have like 2 instrument repair guys in the city. Both of them were super busy because of all the bands that's going on in the city. So instruments wasn't there. There's a whole lot of obstacles that kids go through in this program to have free stuff because they can't afford it or just can't get an instrument. But sometimes the instrument have to go to repairs, not even without an instrument still. So when that happens, usually it's an easy turnaround. But like I say, 2019 was one of the worst years. It can't beat 2020, but it was one of the worst years financially as far as getting things done. It made a lot of hurdles for us to get things done.
Right.
It was like Mardi Gras came and the kids were like on the high that they were one of the best bands, and 2020 looked so good, and then COVID hit. And what was so scary about COVID is the uncertainty. I have to say the uncertainty and not being able to tell kids what's going on, when they're going to come back, or just what's going to happen, because kids are looking to you to be that leader and have the answers at all times. So when you don't have the answers, they get scared. That scares them more than anything. And they start to fear and start to bring things into their head, into their own head. They imagine what they want to imagine, and thinking that we're never going to go back to school, or we're never going to have a band again, or how they're going to get their lessons. That's kind of scary for a kid to even talk about with a kid when you don't have the answers for it. So we came up with a plan. Our team just stayed on the phone. We was on the phone like every day. We were meeting up. We talked to everybody and just said we have to come up with a plan to reach our kids and stay in their lives and be a part of their lives. So we were already partnered with Berkeley City Music in Boston, and they have this really great program called Pulse. We use it at the school. It's online, and it pretty much is a teacher within itself. The teacher just have to check over the work and maybe tell the kids what they want them to work on. But it's a really great program, and we implemented that with the rest of our curriculum online, and the response was great. Kids was on learning, and communicating with their teachers. They also learn how to do videos and post them on YouTube. It was a really, really great experience to learn how to use and the technology that we have that we not normally use, like Zoom, other different platforms that really show how innovative we are and how far we have came in a short period of time. Because we didn't have this 20 years ago, and it's just like we're very innovative and we're moving forward fast. So we as a program, we have to learn how to use this technology to our advantage. And COVID, as bad as it was, and wish it go away and never come back, and wish it never came, it did teach us how to use different platforms and show us how to use the technology that we so much just take for granted, and use it for things that we need on everyday life. And right now, currently, we still communicate with our kids. We're not sure exactly when we're going to go back to class. Hopefully, we're planning for the summer. But like I said, we have to go along with what the city and our city officials are talking about. So right now, it's kind of like in a gray area. We don't know exactly how things are going to be laid out, what's going to be different. We're planning for different. We're planning for regular. If our different classes, our new normal does happen and it affects us in a way that we have to break up classes, we are planning to cut our classes down and maybe offer them on a limited basis. Right now, we have classes on 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, from 4 to 7, and on Saturdays from 10 to 2. So that may have to shift a little bit and work around with whatever the new normal is because of COVID.
Right. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. I think some of us saw recently on some of Roots social media and just throughout town that, as you pointed out, Roots really was roaring, to start this year. Mardi Gras was great for y'all. There's an audible that has to be pulled with COVID, but a recent, shining spot, I saw there was a graduation ceremony for the Roots kids recently. Can you kind of walk us through what that was?
Okay. Not to take anything from any of the other classes that graduated from Roots, but this was by far the most touching for me. I have 3 kids in particular that really been in this program for all their life, almost nearly all their life, and they graduated. One is Green. She's been in my program since she was 7 years old, and her mom and her whole family is just a great part of this program. They're there every day, and I'm happy to see them on a daily basis. And she's going on to high school now, so that was kind of like a bittersweet graduation for me with her. Also was Lawrence, Lil Low, Mr. Rawlins' son. He's been in the program since he was 7, really since he was 5, but I want to say 7 because he joined officially when he was 7, but his dad used to work at the program, so he was there every day. And also my nephew / son, Lawrence Tudor, he graduated and he's been in the program since he was 2. So I think this is the first time I think I may have teared up a little bit on the other graduation, but I actually cried at this graduation. Tudor has been like my right hand with the program. He's the kid side. He brings me what I need to know and what I need to be doing for as kids, and what the kids like. He's my inside scoop to what the kids like, what they're doing, what they want to see. Because the rewards and the prizes, kids are surprised when I just come up and know what they want. I know where they want to go at. You know, and that makes it that much fun. I always tell kids, this program is the no excuse policy. You have tutoring, you have bus service, you have food, you have free instruments, you have free, everything free. So you have no excuse why you're not here. And to make it even better, I want kids to want to be here. I don't want to have to, you know, force anybody to come here, come to the program. I want kids to talk to their friends and be like, man, you have to be a part of this program. And one of the things is just knowing what kids want and keeping the scoop. And also just knowing what's going on in the program from the kids' side of things, because, you know, we're dealing with where the kids are almost as smarter than us, because they have all the technology and they know how to work it, and they're using it against us at all times. We don't think so. But quick story, I noticed, I didn't know that because I know I'm getting older, because I used to show up at school. I still do show up at schools for the kids. And they used to use their phones to text each other when I show up. And I used to wonder how everybody knew I was there. But
they're one step ahead.
One step ahead. So we have to know how to use our technology and stop giving them excuses, and stop, you know, really saying that they can't do when they can do a lot, and they want to do a lot. We just got to give them the opportunity, and that's what I try to do. I try to just stay in tune with what's going on with the kids and let them figure out different ways to make this program better.
Right. Oh, that's great. Kind of going off of recent graduation, you know, I'm sure you could go on and on and on about a lot of success stories with your alumni, but are there any, you know, in particular that you'd like to share, any success stories from Roots that stand out?
Oh man, I have to take this time to really give a shout out to Tuda. You know, I talk about him a lot, but I don't really give a testimony to how really good this kid is. I have to say him because he started out wanting to be in this program when he was 1 year old. And at 6 months, he was walking and he was marching around and he could barely talk. And he was humming the police beat for one of the cadres. And it would go, chet, 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 chet. He was just marching around saying, and I was just like, I think I'm crazy that I hear a kid that's 6 to 8 months marching around singing this, he barely walk. And I tried to get my wife at the time to come and see, but it was like the little frog that's on the cartoons. Hello, my baby. Hello, my dog. So every time somebody come to see, he go rebeat. He don't do nothing. That's what Tuda would do me. Every time I try to get somebody to see him, he would stop and he wouldn't do it. So I look like a clown every time. And finally, I got smart and I picked up the camera. I picked up my phone when he came up. I was more into technology than he was. I picked up the phone and recorded him marching back and forth. And finally, people went to believe in me. Now, everybody's starting to make him feel good about it. He's doing it more. And he used to be around the band. And we used to practice at a place called the Fine Arts Center in New Orleans. And the place had steps, like 2 floors of steps. 2 flights of steps you had to go up. And I just knew Tuda was scared of steps. He would not go up the steps at first. And the drummers went upstairs, and Tuda would go up the steps every day. Mr. Ruffin is the drum instructor. He used to run him down and make me come get him every day. He was like, man, I'm not having no child up here while I'm dealing with these drummers. Tuda would go up there every day, 5 times a day. Finally, Mr. Ruffin took a liking to him and I guess fell in love with him and went to showing him a simple way to learn how to play drums. And to this day, I use this way. Tuda used to know his mommy and daddy. He used to say mommy and daddy. Well, he really used to call me and my ex-wife his mom and dad at the time. So he still calling me daddy to this day.
Yeah.
So Ruffin told him go, mommy in his left hand, daddy in his right hand. And Tiller right now is probably one of the best drummers in the city of New Orleans. He already have a drum section. He's not even he just got accepted into the school a couple of weeks ago. He's been accepted in the drum section 3 years ago. He's a good kid. He's academically supported and great in his academics. Great all around kid, and he's the product of this program, and it shows that this program works. He was there 90% of the time. He's been there, so I would have to say 90% of his life he's been in Roots, and he's been that front person for Roots. He's been the person that's been doing all the interviews. He's been a drum major since he was 2 years old, and he's a stand-up kid. He really, takes it all in and represents Roots to the fullest, like it's supposed to be represented from the kid's standpoint.
Right. Thank you so much. It's great. And I'm sure, once again, there's so many success stories that you could highlight, but that really is a touching one to bring to light. When we were speaking yesterday, Derrick, of other areas that you really wanted to highlight, one that I did want to make sure we touched on was Roots, as it stands right now, is an unbelievable organization, a great cause, something that people can really get behind. But, you had said, kind of paraphrasing, but this is really the tip of the iceberg for you and for Roots of Music. So, how much more can Roots grow? Like, what more do you see that you can contribute?
Well, with 10 years of thinking, prior to starting this program, you could think of a lot of things to do. And if you just focus on one thing, there's a lot of things that you can do. I just focus on music and kids. That's it. And I wanted to find every aspect of music to give to kids. First of all, I wanted to give them the instruments. So we start off with Roots of Music, Marching Crusaders, the marching band. I want to do studios. I want to have kids know what's going on in the studio, know how to work inside and outside. That means be a musician, a studio musician, or being a studio engineer. I want kids to learn how to fix instruments. I want kids to learn how to be engineers behind the scene of stages. Learn how to work the equipment of lights and the soundboard and everything that goes along with the stage setup. Also want kids to learn piano, set drums, strings. So I want to expand Roots to all of those different areas, DJing. And I'm partnering up with a friend of mine who has some great space, and we're working together now to make these programs come to light. And I know that kids want it, first of all. I hear a lot of kids talk to me about they wish Roots had never stopped and they could be in Roots till they get old. And I can understand that because I wanted to be in Bell Band, and I wish Bell Band had a high school. So I understand how they feel, that love that they feel being a part of this program. So I want to offer these different parts of different programs to every kid as they get older. The Crusaders Marching Band will always be 9 to 14, but these other programs will offer programming for kids older and younger, not just 9 to 14.
Great. Well, we've got about 25 minutes left. Ashley, if I can kind of put you on the spot, I think I'll prep us with one more question for Derrick, but if we could maybe open up the chat, whether that's video or just, yeah, go ahead.
One more that we expand into. Financial literacy, which you're going to be helping me with. I feel like a lot of musicians, we make the money, but don't know how to manage our money. So I want kids to start learning how to manage their money, understand how to save and how to invest. Going through different aspects of life, every part of it. How you deal with your royalties to how you want to buy a house. Um, I want kids to really understand that from a young age, and then they can start working on it as they go on. So I have Christian, thank you very much. He's going to be helping me get that all in order and making sure that he's there to see some money.
Real quick, Derrick, I think audio was kind of cutting out. Ashley, were you able to catch that?
Really?
Yeah, it was a little bit hard to hear, and I got a couple of messages about it. Derrick, would you be able to repeat yourself, please?
I said, you can hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, that's better.
I said that I feel like a lot of musicians do not understand or never learned how to really manage their money. So I feel like this is a great opportunity for us to teach kids at a young age how to deal with the finances. And then receiving royalties, cash money, deposits, all kind of money that comes in from being a musician. I want them to know how to manage it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was a little bit better. Ashley, you still there?
I am. Yeah.
Great. Well, yes, thank you so much again, Derrick, for sharing your story. I did want to make sure that we, opened up questions to the rest of the audience. I don't know, Ashley, have you been monitoring the chat at all?
I have gotten a couple of questions. One I just got, but Derrick, would you be able to talk about a time, and I'm sure that you guys have a lot of experience with this, is when you successfully partnered with other nonprofits?
Yes. A bunch of times we've partnered with, I don't want to just give one example. I'm going to say that the best partnerships with nonprofits are the ones that we communicate, when we have good open communication and enough time to facilitate and make arrangements and get things really in order. And I think that's the that's the best part about partnering. If you have the time to really understand each other, organization, and make the best fundraiser or partnership, whatever it is that you're doing, the time and the communication is the most important part of it. We've had some great partnerships. I'll say one that started out. I'll say the very first one, Musician Clinic, Bethany Boatman. She taught me. She taught me, and I'm going to always be in debt to Bethany Boatman for forever. Her and Martha Murphy, her name is Leahy now, Miss Martha Leahy, her and Jack. They really taught me how to run a nonprofit and how to start up a nonprofit, what's the ins and outs. And Bethany was our first meeting that we ever had starting up Roots of Music, and she tore our package apart, the package that we worked so hard at. And I appreciate her because nobody else would be straight up with us. And nobody would be that example of what it takes to be a nonprofit, how hard it's going to be. Only Martha and Bethany were the only two that came to our rescue at the very beginning and taught us what we were up against. So, and that partnership led into years later, and probably up until right now, Bethany is going to always be my heart. She's that she works really hard to get her program, and she's an example for a lot of other programs and a lot of other organizations on the work ethics it takes to be a nonprofit. So that is one great partnership that I'm always remember and always going to be dear to my heart.
Mm-hmm. It's great to hear. Ashley, is there another one in the queue?
Yeah, I've got a couple more. What was the most adversity you've faced when growing Roots of Music, and how did you overcome it?
I would say there were two things. Telling kids no. I have a budget that seems like it constantly grew every hour. We went from a budget of starting out, like I say, $20,000 for kids for 6 week 6 week summer course. That led to a budget that went to roughly about 125,000 overnight to 350,000. Then we had to raise money because we went to the Rose Bowl, and we had to raise the same amount of money it took to run a program. It took us to go to the Rose Bowl, so we doubled. We had to raise in 1 year to having to raise almost $800,000 in a total year to go into the Rose Bowl. So now my budget is like around $750,000 right now on a yearly basis, and that's been consistent for about 3 or 4 years now. Martha Murphy Leahy, it's my girl. She played a major part in me starting this program. She was the first person to give us money to start up this program. And she told me, she was like, Derrick, this is going to be a very challenging program to start up and get running. She's like, I don't think that you want to get involved with this. She's like, well, if you want to do it, I know you're going to put your all into it, and I'm going to support you. And she went on to telling me, it's not the startup, it's not having the fun, it's the going after it every year after year, going after that budget. And if we get high, you're going after a higher budget. That can be a little nerve-wracking, and it can wear on you a lot. And I found that over time, I found that to be very, 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 very true. Because if you're not a fundraiser, it's not something that you like to do. And fundraising is pretty much begging people for money on a regular basis. And if you're not somebody that's crafty at it and have a gift of knowing how to ask people for money without asking them for money, it's kind of hard to do. So over the years, I did get a little worn out with that part of the program and needed help and wanted to find help. And finally this year, we got the help with Suzanne Rather. She came and became our savior, our knight in shining armor financially. Our program ran smoothly, and we look like a nonprofit, but really financially we were D in the way we were being able to manage and bring in funds. It wasn't a managing too much, it was just constantly going after the funds and getting somebody that knew how to go after the money. Suzanne came in, and like you said, this year we raised almost more than double than what we actually was going for with Give Nola Day. And it was, right. It was really like, you know when you got a good thing. When we got Suzanne, we really knew that we got the right person in the right position.
And Suzanne, of course, being your interim executive director.
Yes.
Right.
And she's really got our team to where we're a team again. You know, when things start falling apart, you notice that the team will fall apart also. If somebody really strong has to come and bring that team back together, or you wind up losing people and getting new people and starting all over again. She brought us back together, got us where we're on the right track. I think that's what we needed, you know. And Roots now I think the sky's the limit now. You know, we have all these different programs that we want to do and get kids more involved in Roots and more of the community, not just kids. You know, we look at how much this program does for the kids and the service that it renders to the kids, but there are a lot of adults that want to get involved with kids. We have a lot of parents that want to have kids that never had kids and just want to be involved with kids that come to the program. We have people that kids have grown older and they still want to be involved with kids that come back to the program. We have kids that are still kids that come back to the program. And, you know, so that's like a real joy to walk up there on a daily basis and see the whole family is still standing there, no matter what, you know. And we deal with everything like a family. We talk about everything, you know. Some subjects are a little hard to deal with. So that's why I partnered up with Tulane this year. I feel like we don't utilize social workers enough. And I think that everybody needs somebody to talk to. And I think that sometimes you talk to the wrong people and get the wrong answers. So I want to implement or have social workers at Roots on a daily basis, just so if kids want to talk about something and get off their chest, get it off. I had a situation I dealt with at right down to 28 when I was volunteering, and I just got out of high school, and I was at 28, and this little kid named Sweet Pea, he told me he was gonna kill himself, and I told him, I was like, yeah, right, I ignored it, and he pretty much told me if he was to get put out, he was a terrible little kid. Every day he got put out of class. He'll make band practice every day. Every day he'll make band practice. And he came to me, he said, he did something. I told him to go home. And he went home, and then the next morning he killed himself. I don't take all the credit for that, but in my heart, I do play a part in it. Because I feel like if he would have been at that program, something would have changed his mind. So maybe another day would have went by that he wouldn't have killed himself. So I try not to ever send kids home. There are cases where you have to send kids home, but I always try to have our staff and everybody communicate with the parent, what went on, how we could deal with it, how we can go further. And the kid has not really ever put out this program. I only remember putting out 3 kids, and that were 3 kids. 2 of them was twins, and they were like the worst twins in the world. They couldn't get along with each other, and they would do things that they just couldn't, deal with. And they had the greatest parents in the world. And one was my little nephew. And other than that, kids be in this program, they might get suspended for a few days. They really have to really do something, get into a fight. We have very few fights. We have very few altercations. But if we do, we deal with them accordingly. We try not to put out any kid because you don't want that bearing on your back where you have something happen. And I don't mean just killing. I can mean like an accident, got hit by a car, or just anything. You don't want none of that on your conscience, knowing that they could be there with you. So I always try to keep kids with me. I always try to give them the benefit of the doubt of what they're doing, that they're kids, and we could do better in teaching them. But for the most part, we don't have the problems at Roots. Kids want to be there on regular. If you come over there, I tell everybody, come over there, just pop up. Because I don't want it to ever be like a show, like we putting on a show for you. No, this is we're going every day at Roots. Just come on over, and you're gonna see it for yourself. Discipline is first. If we don't know how to, if we can't teach you discipline, we can't teach you nothing. Because we can't take you anywhere, we can't teach you anything. You're not gonna sit still long enough to learn anything. So we have to really get discipline first, and then when people come over, they're like, the kids are so disciplined. No, that's all we ask them to do is act accordingly. That's all, it's really like they know how to act. All the kids know how to act. They know how to act. They know what's right and wrong. You just have to let them know that you're not really going to take none of the wrong. You will be disciplined in some way, form, or fashion. And that's not, and when we say discipline, we don't mean beating on a child. That means they have push-ups, sit-ups, running the stairs, doing some kind of work that you do not want to do, and it may be considering cleaning the bathroom, something that I know you don't want to do. It's just keeping the kid with me and giving support where it's needed at in the discipline side of things.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. Really opening up there. Ashley, we have about right over 5 minutes. I had kind of a couple kind of questions in closing, unless if you think we can sneak one more in from the audience. I'll use your discretion, Ashley.
Yeah, I think actually there's one that ties well with the thought that I kept having, which is the word innovation, and I think that the Roots of Music is a testament to innovation um, coming out of the catastrophe of Hurricane Katrina. Um, and I think that we're kind of in this very challenging social and cultural climate right now with COVID going on, among other things. And so one of the questions we got was, what advice would you give our members looking to grow their civic engagement? So I think there's a really great opportunity there to kind of like, look at civic engagement and innovation in the community's needs right now, going back to like using the city for your vision and helping it, listening to it. So I wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
I think that really and truly you should, if you want to be a part of any nonprofit, one that you like, that's more sensitive to your needs, the one that you like, the things that you like to do. If it's kids, uh, really be sensitive to thinking you're a part of it out. If you don't like to if you don't like to deal with a lot of kids, you maybe want to think about going to. I don't want your experience to, first experience to get there and be like, whoa, this is too much for me. And now you think that every nonprofit is like that. But I think it starts off with doing the investigation into the nonprofit, or whatever services or wherever you want to give your services at. It starts off with an investigation on your part, knowing that you want to be dealing with this program because it's dealing with music, kids, or dealing with the handicap, whatever it is that you want to do. I think the investigation starts off first, and then getting to know the people that's involved with the program. Don't just show up and just get involved. Try to get involved on a knowing the program first, the knowing of the program. I went to this great foundation called the Annenberg Foundation in California, in Los Angeles, and I think that every nonprofit or anybody that's potentially thinking about starting a nonprofit should go there first. It taught you everything that you need to know about nonprofit. And I think that's what needs to happen with people that want to volunteer and get involved with nonprofits. Sometimes they need to just go and talk to somebody that's in a nonprofit and find out what's the best way to get involved. And I think that's starting out with an investigation on that nonprofit that you're thinking about and getting involved with.
Absolutely. But yeah, thank you so much. Well, Derrick, really appreciate your time. If someone, after hearing what you said, looking through different nonprofits, different civic areas to listen to our city and act accordingly, if someone was interested in Roots, how would they get involved with Roots?
Well, you could just go online to rootsofmusic.org, send us an email. Somebody will get right back to you immediately. Most likely it would be Zach. He would probably, or Morgan. We want everybody to be involved. This is a community effort to save our kids, give them the opportunity that they might not have if this program wasn't here. I have a kid, Trayvon, who I'm super proud of. He got the scholarship to Berkeley in Spain. I have about 10 kids that's been to Berkeley and Boston, but he has the big scholarship. He went all the way to Spain with it, and it's phenomenal to see this cat send me a video for Give Nola D, just saying, give to this wonderful program and the support. I remember the kid, that was the same kid that told me he was going to get rich and support this program. So to see him with a video of Give Nola D just is like almost brought tears to my eyes.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Well, awesome. Well, we'll be sure to share, the website to Roots of Music with everyone that was on the call today. We really, really appreciate your time, Derrick, and we look forward to seeing more of what Roots does moving forward and what everyone here on the call and YLC does in our community moving forward. Ashley, do you have any other closing remarks and anything on the calendar that we should take note of?
Oh, great. Um, sorry, I don't have the dates memorized for once. It's the beginning of the week. We've got Toastmasters coming up tonight. Next week, Power Ties is reconvening to look at how, if you want to get involved, how we can look at bringing our 8th grade career readiness program to students back in the fall when there may be issues with classrooms opening up and how they might be challenging and transitioning that program. And thank you guys so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much again, Derrick, and thank you, Ashley, for putting this together.
Thank you all so much for having me.
All right, have a good one.
Okay.